Hit it. Hello and welcome to episode 19 of the Genre Blender podcast, a celebration of storytelling across books, games, TV, film, and more. My name is Ryan, and my illustrious podcasting co-host Kris is not with us today. He's off on assignment doing some super secret special agent stuff, maybe. But it is my absolute pleasure to introduce everyone, listeners, watchers of the podcast, to our extra special guest for the episode, my good friend and colleague, and my go-to person for all movie-related stuff, Jack. Welcome to the podcast, Jack.
Thanks, Ryan. Hi, nice to be here.
It is really good to have you here. You were actually on the top of the list as like potential guests to bring onto the podcast since the very beginning.
Nice.
And I'm so happy that we finally made that happen. It just so happens that Kris isn't here and he misses out again, so that's okay. But he can listen to it.
Ever since listening to that first episode, I was like, I want on, I want on, I want on, I want on, I want on. I just want to talk.
Yeah, just want to nerd out, right? And it's kind of cool. Just as a bit of context, so Jack and I work together. We're work colleagues and good friends, and I guess we have quite a few interests as well. And I'll let you introduce yourself as well, and maybe if you want to let everyone know sort of your interests and hobbies, and maybe your areas of expertise and things like that. So go ahead.
For sure. I'm Jack. I've been on the internet for far too long. As far as where I come in with this podcast, I mean, upon watching the first episode, I realized that I shared a lot of interest with both you and Kris because we all studied similar things. I went to university. I double majored in creative writing and theatre and a minor in film. Um, you've brought me on today as I'm a movie buff. I love a lot of movies to a disturbing degree.
Which we'll get to.
Yeah, we'll definitely get to that. But yeah, so I enjoy all types of media. I play video games, I read books, I read comics. Been listening to a lot of audiobooks lately, which is a sort of a newer thing for me. So listening to audiobooks, theatre, the whole works. Basically, any type of media, and I like to be on top of it as much as I can.
Yeah, and you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I said, you're my go-to person for a lot of it,
Yeah.
and not just movies. So yeah, so you're probably getting the sense of why we brought Jack on, and I think he's absolutely qualified to be on the podcast. Um, we'll be talking mostly movies, really almost exclusively movies on this episode, just to kind of focus it down because there's a lot of interest, as you said, that we share. And we'll certainly have you back for other ones as well. But yeah, for mostly a movie discussion because as it's probably obvious to our viewers and listeners, we are kind of lacking in that area a little bit between Kris and myself. Movies and films are the one thing that we don't do much of compared to everything else. And I've tried to change that a little bit this year to varying levels of success. But we're making it work. But before we get into a bit of a discussion on movies and what that looks like and your knowledge of films, let's go through a little bit of a read, watch, play because you mentioned you enjoy other things as well. That you read comics and books and audiobooks. I'll let you go first, and if you want to mention what you've been up to and just anything cool that you recommend or that you'd like to share.
Sure. Last couple of weeks, I've been all over the place. I've been traveling. Ryan knows. I got back from a week-long holiday. As far as reading, I just recently read the 12-issue run of Ironheart, the Marvel comic about Riri Williams. That was really good. A very contemporary Marvel story, which was nice. What have I watched? Literally yesterday, I watched a TV show called Hysteria. There's only 8 episodes, and that was very interesting. That was about sort of like the satanic panic of the 80s, but it's about some teenage kids that start getting into it to be cool, but then also actual demonic things start happening in this small country town.
Naturally.
Yeah.
Or unnaturally, maybe.
Yeah, unnaturally. But that was fun. Like I said, basically binge watched the entire 8 episodes yesterday.
Nice.
As far as movies, I've been going to the movies a lot lately. I went to see The Accountant 2, which is a sequel to one of my favorite Loki action films. Sinners, Until Dawn, and I went to the movies not yesterday, day before. What did I see? something else that I can't remember right now. But yeah, so I've been to the cinema 5 times in the past week and a half.
See, to me, that is absolutely wild, but like amazing. Because I mean, for context, I don't think I've been to the cinema for like 5 years.
Wow.
I just don't go since like before the pandemic. That's amazing. Most of those I'm not familiar with. I'll have to look them up. We'll put obviously everything that we talk about. We'll put in the show notes as much as we can. There might be a long list.
Yeah.
You mentioned Until Dawn? Is that a video game
Yeah, so
remake?
yeah,
Yeah,
it's a adaptation of the game that was on PlayStation.
that's crazy. I
And
didn't know that was a thing.
yeah, the most jump scary movie I've watched in like 10 years. So many jump
Wow.
scares.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that was a thing. That's really cool, actually. And that's, I think, one I haven't played. I think Steph was going to play that one and
Yeah,
didn't. But I don't play horror games, as everyone
yeah.
who watches the podcast knows. I cannot. But I like watching them. So if someone else plays them and I watch them, that's great. It's like watching a scary movie. So
I had a non-gamer friend ask me to buy the game so they could come over and watch me play it. They didn't even play
nice.
games, but they'd heard of Until Dawn. They're like, I want to watch it.
Nice. Yeah, it's like an interactive film, really, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. Nice. Wow, 5 times at the cinema. That's crazy.
Oh, that was kind of. There was a few movies I wanted to see, and they had a deal where you got like 5 movie tickets for $65, and I
Oh
was like,
wow, that's a good
okay,
deal. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Why not? Because the cinema's not cheap
No,
anymore.
they're normally $25 a ticket. So
That's nuts. Yeah, good deal then. Absolutely. Awesome. So yeah, so a fair bit of stuff. And you've been traveling, like you said. So is that normal? Your like typical consumption of films, books, and stuff, or is it just because you're traveling?
um, the cinema is non-typical. Like I normally go to the
Right.
cinema maybe once a month or twice a month. I try
Yeah.
to do a
Cool.
double feature when I go to the movies, or like
Yeah.
go see 2 movies back to back.
Yeah. Cool.
But yeah, it was just because I got those 5 movie tickets.
Hmm.
The travel thing, I read more because the friend I was visiting doesn't have a television by choice.
Oh wow, that's cool.
They used to have a 100-inch television, and they went nut, and they've sold it, and all they do is like read now and listen to
Nice.
music.
Probably much better for one's mental health.
Yeah,
That's cool. I wish I was that person. I'm so
yeah,
not, but I wish I
no,
was. Uh, cool, awesome. Well, that sounds great.
yeah,
Yeah, I've been like not reading too much, but I am finally reading Butter by Asako Yuzuki, the book that we were supposed to read, and we will be doing a Books and Bevies episode on down the track, so that'll be up on the YouTube channel. But I'm halfway through that. Chris has obviously finished that ages ago.
yeah.
But I'm also reading a book called Outline by Rachel Cusk, who is a British author, and I am adoring this book. It's not super long, but I'm about halfway through it as well. It is just pure literary fiction, so it's kind of my jam, and it's kind of autobiographical because it's a book about a writer going to Athens. She's a British writer going to Athens to teach like a writing class. But the book isn't about anything. Like it's about the people that she meets along the way and the stories and the anecdotes that she shares with them and that they share with her mostly, and the relationships that she forms. And it's such a mesmerizing book. It's like her writing style is just it's so sparse. Like it's not. She says so much with so little. And yeah, that's absolutely my jam. So I think I found a new favorite author. Just happened to actually. I think that one was from the booktube celebrity Jack Edwards. I think it was his recommendation from a long time ago. So, but
Nice.
yeah, no, it's really cool. So that's what I'm
Uh,
reading. I'm watching a show called Brilliant Minds, and it's kind of bad. It's pretty terrible, and I put it
yeah,
on just as like background, you know, entertainment while I was reorganizing the office. So I just had something playing, and I only put it on because Zachary Quinto was in it, and I don't know. It's kind of cool to have an openly gay character playing an openly gay character actor playing openly gay
yeah,
actor playing an openly gay character without it being the focus though. Like it's not the focus of the show at all. So that's just
yeah,
cool. But other than that, the show's not great. It's pretty bad, but kind of in a good way.
yeah,
And the game that I alluded to last episode, that I said I played 5.5 games, and the point five of the game was a game called Murdered Soul Suspect, and it is an old game. It came out in 2014. It's like a third person narrative investigation kind of game, kind of puzzly but not really. And it's developed by a game developer who are no longer around. They're called Airtight Games, and I think that same year that the game was out, they closed down. But it's published by Square Enix, so it was kind of a big one. It's just been on my list for ages, and it's basically there's this you play as like a police detective. His name's Ronan. He has a bit of a rebellious past, and he's investigating the serial killer called the Bell Killer. And I guess it's not really a spoiler. In the very early game, he's killed and he comes back as a ghost, and he kind of has to investigate his death and this killer. And the whole game takes place in Salem in in America. So it's kind of cool. Not the best game. It won't win any. I don't think it won any game awards or anything. But it's a cool little game, and I played it on the Steam Deck, and it was just fun to play on there. So yeah, that's it. Yeah, cool, nice.
I was going to say I forgot reading and games. I got distracted.
Yeah, I was going to say yeah.
Listening to the audiobook. I've been listening to a series called Dungeon Crawler Carl.
Never heard of it.
So my go-to recently is listening to audiobooks of a genre called lit RPG.
Yes.
Which is RPG books based upon like video games and stuff like that. And I was getting tired of listening to ones that I didn't enjoy, so I looked up like what people recommend, and this is always at the top of the list. And it's very, very funny and self-referential, and it's like got so many references in it to pop culture and things like that.
Nice.
Like one of the early bosses in the game is Crack Karen, which is a Karen that wants to speak to the manager, but like all tentacles and stuff, that is doing a MLM like with the goblins making moonshine, and like it's just ridiculous.
That's amazing, actually.
And I was so on the fence about it, and then I saw a book talker, I can't remember their name, sorry, but they were talking about how they hate. Well, not hate, but they were like, I'm never going to listen to lit RPG, but they finally gave this a shot, and now they're 5 books deep.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so curious about the genre because Kris has talked about it before, and for me, like it's always been, I'm very like I like my games, like I like my RPGs as games, and I like my books to be very, very much books, literary fiction, for example. But I'm curious, would this be a good jumping on point for like to try out the genre?
If you want a good laugh, Dungeon Crawler Carl. If you want, personally, the one that got me into the genre, and I found just a better story, as a series called Tower of Somnus.
Okay.
I can't remember the author's name, but it's a combination of fantasy and sort of cyberpunky sci-fi.
Oh, I'm down for that.
Where the whole game thing is they go into this thing when they sleep and they have like fantasy adventures and get skills and stuff. But then when they're in the real world, they have the same skills to a lesser degree, but use those to be like a cyberpunk runner type, doing missions.
Wow.
And yeah,
I think that might be the one I need to pick up then because I guess comedy in any media, I suppose, hit and miss. It does depend on the humor, right?
Yeah.
Although Crack Karen sounds it's just brilliant.
Yeah.
Cool. That's awesome. What about games? Have you done any gaming?
Yeah, a little bit of gaming. Let me just grab my. I was just thinking about what was the name of the game, because I play a lot of indie games all over the place. The one I've been playing lately is I've been playing a lot of a game called not Balatri, The Bazaar, which is not a narrative game.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a sort of puzzle or auto chess type dealy. But there was one which I cannot remember the name of. Too much media. I just have too much media coming and going.
Can I say, I'm surprised you remember anything at all, to be honest. I probably wouldn't.
Yeah,
you'll remember it midway through the episode if you just yell it out.
but basically, it's a game where you start as a baby and you develop your neurons, and then it's sort of like a choice-based thing where you just go from baby to 18. And it's like, what do you study at school? And like, do you focus on your friendships, or do you focus on like a part-time job? And
wow.
it's just that. And you go through the cycle. And then by the end of it, it's like, do you partner? And if you partner, then you have a baby, and that's the start of the next run.
Oh, wow. Wow. Yeah. What a premise for a game. That's good. What kind of like, what's the style of the actual gameplay? Like, is it a point and click type thing, or is it, what do you do?
It's like choices based, just text boxes coming up.
Oh, right.
The thing where you're like developing neurons, it's like a grid of things where you click one and it reveals some more. It's like, all right, so what am I going to develop from there, and what am I going to develop from there, and sort of a puzzler type thing.
Yeah, right. That
Yeah,
sounds really wild. I'm actually curious. Things like that,
yeah,
like especially indie games that are just different, like, more experimental. I think that's where they
yeah,
really shine because obviously AAA games, these studios
yeah,
can't really afford to do that in case it's a big flop. But yeah, the indie
yeah.
games, it's pretty cool.
There's one I think I've recommended to you privately, which was My Life as a Teenage Exocolonist.
Yes,
Yes.
I've had maybe three people recommend that game to me. So I think I
Yeah.
just need to play it at some point. I do
Yeah.
have it on my wish list, I think, on Steam.
I'd recommend that more than the one I'm playing. I reckon you'd
Okay.
really enjoy it.
Okay, cool. All right,
Yeah.
that's going to shoot up the top of the list. I have a feeling by the end of this episode, there's going to be a lot of things that are going straight up the to watch to playlist.
A lot of a list.
Yeah, poor list.
Beautiful.
Cool, awesome. Well, thank you for sharing your read, watch, play. It's always always great to get other recommendations for things.
Yeah.
So let's talk movies.
Let's do it.
Let's talk movies. Is why you're here. It's we're gonna have a bit of a nerd out session, I think.
Yeah.
So essentially, just to kind of intro what the episode is for this week. So mostly, I'm going to be asking Jack just a bunch of like interview style questions, and we're just going to chat about them. So it's not like it's not a formal interview or anything. It's just like super casual chit chat. But I thought rather than us focusing on a specific topic, it might be good to get a general sense because again, we don't really talk about films too much, and also my knowledge of films isn't that great. It used to be somewhat, and now like as I just don't watch them anymore for the most part. So I thought maybe more broadly to at least start, and then you can come back and we can talk about specific things. But it might be good just to get a lay of the land a little bit and talk about something you recommend and for reasons, your reasons why. And at the end of the episode, we'll have a little bit of a rapid fire, like lightning round, just to kind of wrap everything up and have a bit of fun. So are you ready to get into it?
Yeah. Let's go.
All right, let's do it. So let's start with something nice and easy. Well, actually, and also one of the reasons I wanted to bring you onto the episode, onto the show, because this is it's something that comes up often in our discussions, and also I'm just like in awe, pretty much. So tell us about your movie a day project, or whatever you call it,
Yeah.
and the number of movies that you ended up watching last year.
For sure. So, for many years, I used to tell people I think I watch like 2 movies a day. And then I sort of went, oh, that's probably maybe when I was a teenager, I watched 2 movies a day. I'm a grown adult with adult responsibilities now. And then I got turned on to a social media platform called Letterboxd, which is where you track movies you watch, you review them, you follow other people, that sort of thing. So I was like, well, I can actually get statistics and track this now. So I started tracking, basically when the pandemic started. And then about the time I met Ryan, I decided I actually want to do a movie a day and see what I do. So I plan to do at least a movie a day. I smashed through that by like October, and I was like, cool. I definitely watch at least a movie a day. Last year, I did check; it was 404 films, which was 719 hours worth of media consumption just for
Wow.
movies.
My mind is just blowing up right now. That's
Yeah.
insane. That's
Like some days I'll watch no movies, but then, like today if I wasn't doing this, I'd probably watch 3 or 4 movies while I was on the couch or doing
yeah.
other things and yeah.
Yeah. Question then, something we haven't talked about. Where do you find the films that you want to watch? Because obviously, there's many that you can, things are just like given to us in advertising and friends' recommendations and whatever. But what's your
Yeah.
approach to that? How do you know what to watch?
I go on Vibe. So I constantly add to my own movie collection. I will anything that's recommended by people, or sometimes I'll see an interview with a particular actor, and then they'll mention a movie I haven't seen, and then I'll like try and track down every movie they've ever done. So I've got it there in my collection.
Yeah.
And then when I'm sort of feeling it, I'll watch this or watch that, or those sorts of things. I also love watching, like just before we connected today, I was watching Corridor Crew do special effects talk. They're a YouTube
Oh,
channel that like bring in special effects artists and stuff and talk about special effects in film.
nice.
So then they'll like talk about, oh, this film introduced this concept of a special effect. I'll be like, oh, I haven't seen that. I want to see it in context. So then I'll like watch that movie or things of
Interesting.
that line. Yeah,
That's actually really smart because I kind of do the same with books and games to an extent. But it's really smart because like you're going into it knowing you're probably going to really like something. And
yeah,
I think as much as you can get rid of all the stuff that you're not going to like, because then you're just wasting your time, right?
yeah,
That's a great approach to it. So just like finding the work of a particular director, or yeah, exactly what you said.
yeah.
Very cool. Um, That's I just yeah I don't think I can comprehend how many movies like I mean look to put it in perspective I think I've watched maybe I don't even know like eight all year and most of
I'm
those
at
were on
one.
the plane. Yeah,
I'm at 144 for the year, so we're only in May, and I'm over halfway.
that's amazing. Very very cool. So if you need movie recommendations.
Yeah,
Like Jack's the person to go to, right? Like
hit
this is
me
how
up.
it works. Yeah,
I love giving good movie recommendations, and I have two. I have one where I'm like, you'll probably enjoy this,
mm.
and then sometimes I'll watch something and go, this person is going to love this film, and then they watch it like that was great. I'm like, I told you,
I
and
knew
that
it.
fills my soul with joy.
That's your life's purpose right there.
Yeah,
That's amazing. Yeah, to be able to like connect a film with a person who you know is going to enjoy it, like that's cool. Because for me, like someone can ask, like, what movies do you like? What are your recommended movies? And I've got my go tos, like my Blade Runner, my Alien, my Terminator, you know those, and
yeah,
then more artsy films. But I like them. They're my favorites, and like I know they're not everyone's cup of tea, but I'm like I wouldn't be able to like connect any kind of film with a person at all. Can kind of do that with games, but not so much movies.
yeah.
Very cool, awesome.
Like teenage exocolonist Ryan.
Yes, exactly. Spot on. So what is it then about movies specifically? Because obviously, as you've said, you do play games, you do you know, and TV shows you watch as well, and you read books
Yeah.
and comics and everything. So what is it about film specifically that you gravitate towards that speak to you so much?
So I was doing a bit of reflection on this, and there's two things. One, um, ADHD. So I have ADHD, and because I love filmmaking so much, there are so many aspects to a film that I can really think about. Like I was mentioning, I watched the VFX artists talk about VFX. So I'm thinking about the VFX. I'm thinking about it from an acting perspective, a directing perspective, a lighting, set, costume. Like all of those things are different things my brain can latch onto if I start getting distracted.
Mhm.
So that definitely helps. And then from the more artistic side of myself, it's there's mediums I like books, which are a singular vision, or a comic book is like an artist and a writer and maybe a letterist, that sort of thing. But a film and video games come into this as well, but it's a collective creative work.
Yeah,
There are so many very talented people, hundreds of talented people that come in and bring all of these different talents together. And if they have a good director bringing all their visions together really well, it creates something that is transcends just one person's vision,
yeah.
which is what I love. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I can absolutely relate to that. Like for other things, for video games, as you said,
Yeah.
very much so. But yeah, 100% you're right. And I think like even when I'm watching a movie, like I think mostly I'm watching it for the story, of course, but then also yeah, the cinematography and that's sort of what I tend to look out for.
Yeah.
But I never really thought about it in the sense that like we're all going into it looking for different things. Because for me, if the story doesn't hold my attention and if it's not good, it's lost me, right? And then I find it hard to look for other things. But yeah, you're right. Like there's always something to be gained, I suppose, even in a in a movie that's not that great.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Um,
Why did they make that choice is like one of my favorite questions to ask in a film.
especially if it's a bad choice, and you're like, I
Yeah.
wonder, I wonder why they made budgetary reasons.
Yeah.
Why was the visual
I
effects bad?
accidentally saw the new Snow White film. Out of the 5 films I've seen in the cinema, I accidentally saw the new Snow White film. And there's a scene where she's singing through some bars in a gate, and behind her is a castle and a lane. And the lane and the castle line up perfectly with the lights for this beautiful framing shot if she had been in the center of the gate, but she was slightly off center because it had an uneven amount of bars. And I was like, why did they choose that rather than having her center? Because it would have been a like top tier shot turned into like a shot,
Hmm.
all because she's like 10 centimeters to the left because they put the wrong amount of bars in the gate.
Interesting. That's yeah. Well, like, and you and maybe like five other people probably noticed that, right?
Yeah.
What do you mean you accidentally watched it?
So I went to the cinema and I went into the wrong cinema that happened to have a movie starting at the same time. And I was thinking, wow, this is a lot of family movies to have before the movie. And then I got halfway through the opening song and I was like, oh, I'm in the wrong cinema. And instead of like going to the actual cinema and having missed the first 5 minutes, I was like, let's roll with it. I just,
Why not?
yeah.
Did you enjoy the movie?
Look, I thought it was a lot better than people. Like, it's been getting really review bombed.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's probably one of the best live action Disney film. I would probably say it's the best live action Disney film I've seen
Wow.
of like the remake of their classics.
Yeah, wow. This is the one
So
that had a little bit of there was people were, I don't know, saying some bad things about it. There was a little bit in the
yeah,
media for a while.
yeah.
Even
There's
even
always
I
been a
picked
bit
that
of
up.
controversy. I mean,
Yeah,
Zegler, I can't remember her name. The main actress is Snow White.
yeah,
Isn't pale skinned.
yeah. That's right.
Um, Gal Gadot and Israeli and
Yeah,
that, and also the film sort of twists it into a very anti-authoritarian, like the Queen is amassing all the power and influence and money,
right.
and they have to fight against that. And like it felt very heavy-handed as an adult, but as a kid, I think it's great that they're getting this. They're
Sure.
like, don't lose hope that the world is so like just desperate at the moment because the rich are taking all the gold. Like
100%.
fight against them and have hope.
They made it relevant. That's important.
Yeah,
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 100%. Amazing. I love that. Yeah, I've never been into the wrong cinema in my life. Again, 'cause I don't go to the cinema.
yeah,
But like that, yeah, I think I'd probably do the same. At that point, you've already missed half the film. Yeah, what are you gonna do?
yeah,
That's cool.
yeah,
Amazing. Um, so so changing tacks for a little bit. So
yeah.
what are your personal favorite films then? Like what is it? What is it about your favorite films that you love so much that you would like to share? Maybe I don't know. You probably got. I was going to phrase this as what is your favorite film singular, and I thought no, that's I don't know. Maybe you have a favorite
No,
film,
no.
but probably not.
I used to say 10 Things I Hate About You,
Wow. Okay.
which is still one of my favorite films. Like
I've never
it's
seen that to completion. I've seen bits and pieces
really,
of that movie. Yeah.
I've watched that movie over 100 times.
Wow.
Um, it's and yeah, so like when I was thinking about my favorite films, I sort of on the Letterboxd website I mentioned earlier, I've got my top four, which is Baby Driver, The Gentleman, Pitch Perfect, and Seven Psychopaths. Uh,
I don't think I've seen
if any of
any of
those ring a bell.
those. This is why you're here. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Pitch Perfect, I say I've seen more than anyone on earth. 10 Things I Hate About You. And as I was going through all of these, I was like, what really ties them together? And I was sort of thinking about it. And for me, I like films with very snappy dialogue and very good pacing. Particularly, I want to mention the first one I mentioned there, which is Baby Driver. Which, if you forced me at gunpoint to say favorite film, that's my favorite film of
Okay.
the last few years.
Mhm.
And Baby Driver is this beautiful movie about sort of like heists, robbing banks, and things like that. But Edgar Wright, the director, is known for having a very musically done timing in his films. Like
Okay.
everything has beats to like music,
Now I'm
not
interested.
just like the music you can hear, but like
Yeah.
the way it's put together.
Mhm.
The opening scene is this great. They rob a bank, they do a car chase, and I've seen an interview with him where he talks about it as ballet with cars, and it's just got like
Amazing.
this beautiful music, and the cars are dancing to the music, and it's just
That's
sometimes
awesome.
I'm like I just want to watch the opening scene again, and then I watch the whole film again.
Yeah. Well, that tells you how much you love it. I've
Yeah,
heard good things about this movie. It is on a to watch list that I have somewhere.
yeah,
But yeah, that's amazing. When you can kind of, if you have like an analogy that you can use to kind of explain what you are doing, if you're doing something, making a creative choice that might be a little bit different,
yeah.
yeah, that's amazing to me. Like that makes me so interested.
But yeah, no, for me it's the dialogue and the snappiness
Yep.
of the story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool. Are you just out of curiosity? Are you a fan of like Firefly and Serenity?
Yes.
Okay, because that's very much in the same vein, like
Yeah.
the dialogue and
Yeah.
the
Same vein.
yeah,
Joss Whedon, love him or hate him, he has a lot of shows with very good dialogue.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
His
Even the
movies, I think his movies are okay, but his TV show dialogue is great.
yeah, 100%. Like even the ones that weren't as great. Like I remember Dollhouse was like, I wasn't the biggest fan,
Yeah.
but like the dialogue was still amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely.
Kevin Smith, very good with dialogue as well.
Hmm.
Um, Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah,
Tarantino I like, but then none of his films are my favorite films, but I respect it, and he has very good dialogue as well.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Fair. Yeah, I'm not a big massive Tarantino fan. But I will agree with you absolutely. And there are those directors that you like respect more than you like. He's one of those
Yes.
for me.
Yeah, same.
That's fair. Cool, awesome. Well, there's four that you just mentioned that will be on top of my list. Thank you, thank you, or not. Uh,
Uh, actually, I do have one to add to the list.
oh,
Um, uh, One of my favorite films, and I always like to put this in my favorite films because it's a classic film. It's a movie called Harvey from 1950.
is that the Harvey Milk?
No, it's just called Harvey.
Is it not about Harvey Milk?
It's not about
Okay,
Harvey Milk.
okay, right. Different
Yeah,
movie. Okay, I don't know this one. I was like,
yeah.
oh, is there one that I know? No, it's not.
It's actually based on a very dark and depressing play about alcoholism.
Oh wow. Okay.
But it's a very sort of light-hearted, fantastical 1950s film.
Wow. There's two things that go together.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. All right. So you've mentioned this somewhat, but like, do you have any favorite filmmakers, directors, actors that you tend to watch all their stuff?
Not so much actors. Like I have a lot of actors that I like and respect, but the actors, I don't like to watch a film because of the actor.
Right.
But as far as directors go, I've mentioned Guy Ritchie does fantastic gangster films specifically.
Hmm.
And he also did a King Arthur film, which was very stylistically the same.
Cool.
He's a great storyteller. He's had a couple of misses, especially he did the recent Aladdin live action remake, which
I know nothing.
it's not great.
Avoid at all costs. Okay, cool.
Avoid at all costs. Edgar Wright, as I mentioned, he's known for the Cornetto trilogy of films like Shaun of the Dead and things like that. He
Oh,
also
right.
did Baby Driver and Scott Pilgrim versus the World,
Yep.
which
Yep.
is he as I mentioned, he's got a very specific style that all has to do with timing, which I absolutely love. Kevin Smith, great indie. I don't even know if you can call him indie anymore. He's still kind of indie, but
He has
very good
the
dialogue
the
writer.
the style and the vibes of he takes that approach, but yeah, I guess it's hard
Yeah,
to when someone blows up, it gets big enough, it is hard to sort of keep them in that category.
yeah. Also love the fact that he just committed credit card fraud and sold his comic book collection to fund his first film.
Wow, didn't know that.
Yeah, the film Clerks, he sold his entire comic book collection for like 15 grand or something, and then he got a bunch of credit cards in his name at the same time. So then he just used that to fund his first film.
The more you know. That's cool,
Yeah.
actually. I love little tidbits like that. That's cool.
And lately, I say lately, probably the last 5 years, Jordan Peele's pivot from comedy actor to horror director has been wonderful to see. Which I've watched interviews with him, and again, it comes down to it's all timing with me, because comedy and horror both have to do with subverting expectations with the right
Yes.
timing.
Hmm.
So that's why he had such a good pivot, and it's that just getting that perfect moment to get that emotional reaction,
What are
and
some of the
he's
films
killing it.
that he's done?
He's done Get Out,
Yes, okay.
uh,
That's the one I was thinking of.
Us, Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got
Okay.
his own studio, which is called Monkey Paw.
Okay, nice.
Yeah,
Yes, I do. I think you told me about the studio.
yeah,
I've not watched any of those films, but yeah, have heard many good things
yeah,
for those reasons. Cool,
yeah. So
awesome.
yeah, all of them, all coming down to timing. This is not something I realized until I was thinking about what we're going to
Right.
discuss, and I was just like, wow, it's really all to do with timing.
Yeah, that's good. I guess look when you, especially because you mentioned because you've studied film as well, like when you can pick up on that stuff, and even when you're not thinking about it, you're not conscious of it, like you're still like it's still something your brain is picking up. And it's
Yeah,
the same with books for me. Like I find it really hard to read books that aren't written really well. Just not to sound like a snob, but because I can pick that stuff up, and it's hard to not see that and not notice that. So I'm sure it's the
100%.
same for you. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. With the lit RPG books I've been listening to, specifically, the only reason I can get through them is because I'm listening, not reading them. And I'm
right.
not activating the same part of my brain that's like looking at
Yes.
it going, that's wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
Someone
Right.
else is interpreting it for me and speaking it, which makes more sense.
Yeah, that's interesting because when Chris was talking about literary RPGs, and like I asked him for recommendations for that as well, and he said yeah, he uses audiobooks for that as well, just because yeah, it changes the way that you interact with it or you perceive it.
Yeah,
So maybe that's a good way to do it as well. Yeah, maybe I should try both.
yeah.
Yeah, cool. Cool, awesome. So what about like characters in films or characters that resonate with you? Are you someone who like picks up on a character, or are you mostly looking at the film as like a whole complete thing?
I'm mostly looking at the film as a complete thing. Characters I resonate with, uh, generally I like characters that are offbeat, as in they have a very particular way of looking at the world that they're in, whatever the narrative world is, a very particular way of looking at it, which they do in a way that is entirely to themselves and they don't expect other people to see it. Part of the reason I mentioned the classic film I mentioned earlier, Harvey, the main character of that is one of the characters I resonate with the most. Is Elwood P. Dowd is his name.
Okay.
And the whole movie is about the fact that he has an invisible friend that's a 6 foot 3.5 inch invisible rabbit named Harvey.
Oh, okay. The rabbit's called Harvey. Okay, cool.
Yeah, and he's got this. He's just got this great outlook on life where he's just like everything is positive. He invites, like, his sister's very hoity-toity. They're sort of upper middle class or upper class, and he invites like criminals over for dinner. He's like, "Oh, why don't you come over and have dinner with me and my sister," and stuff like that. And he knows he's peculiar, but he's just like, "Hey, this is just me, and I'm just living my life." There's a quote in the film where he says, in this world, you can be oh so smart or oh so kind. For years, I was the former. I recommend the latter."
Nice.
And whether you agree with that sentiment or not, just the fact that he lives it so fully is something that I really resonate with. And that, like, with this, it's a very nice example. But even things like John Wick, fantastic action series, and it's just that this is how I live my life. This is my conviction. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can see that, and I guess maybe that's why we get along so well, because I feel the same, and like we probably live our lives similarly in that way, where you're living your life with conviction, and what you're saying is with conviction, and you believe it, and you have your values, and that's how you live them. Because even if you have like a character that's like a I don't know, a criminal or whatever, like they're living their life according to their rules and their values, and I guess that's a fulfilling life, right? So yeah, that's actually really cool.
I actually had a taxi driver. I was talking movies with the taxi driver on the way to the cinema.
Of course you were.
and he mentioned his favorite movie, which is also one that I really love. Gerard Butler, and he plays a guy that basically is revenge for his family being attacked. But he gets himself arrested, and he does it all to prove the point that the criminal justice system doesn't work.
Wow. Please tell me that's based on a true story.
No.
Damn, it should be.
But like, he goes into court and he gets acquitted, and he is like, "No, you know that I have tortured this person and I have it on film, but you're about to let me go on a legal technicality. What is wrong with you?"
Wow. That's a really awesome premise for any story. Very cool.
I have to look it up now.
If you find the name, I'll pop it in the show notes as well if you remember it.
Yeah. Law-abiding citizen. That's it.
Nice. That's a perfect name.
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay, I'll have to check that one out. Those kinds of like out of left field, just kind of like that's an awesome concept. As long as it's executed well. Obviously, not always. I'm super interested in that kind of stuff.
It's also one of those interesting tidbits about films. The co-lead in it is Jamie Foxx.
Okay.
And Jamie Foxx was originally meant to play the main character, and then he met Gerard Butler, and he said, no, this guy's perfect for the main character. I want this other role, and he gets the main role.
Wow. I'm sure that doesn't happen that often.
Yeah.
Ka-ching, ka-ching. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. I'll add that one. There you go. Another one to the list. Thank you. This list is toppling over at this point. That's your goal by the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Nice. Cool. Okay. So what are your thoughts then on film adaptations? We've kind of touched on it very briefly, but like anything from a book or a game, TV show, made into a film, do you have like an overall view of that, or do you take it, case by case? And do you have any examples of ones that you think are good and not so good?
Yeah. I definitely take it case by case. This is one of the topics that I studied in my degree, and specifically the film adaptation, which is about an adaptation. And the thing with adaptation is you can try to do it faithfully as close as possible, or you can adapt it to the narrative structure of a film, which is great, or you can take it loosely and make it its own thing. And all of these can be done with varying success. So I think, 80% of the film that comes out in Western media, at least, is adaptation nowadays. So it's hard to get away from.
Absolutely.
Again, an aside, as you mentioned, this is something that happens a lot. I recently found out A24, the production house. Have you heard of A24?
No, I don't think so.
So A24 are quite well known at the moment for thriller and horror films, but it was a studio that came out of the fact that most of Hollywood is remakes and adaptations,
right.
And they wanted to create a studio that was just for original stories.
Right.
And they have created an entire brand, and inherently it's lent towards thriller and horror because lower budget, easier to do weird
Sure.
concepts.
Yeah.
But they have this entire brand of only original stories,
Cool.
which is really great.
Yeah.
But back to the adaptations. Yeah, like one of the ones, and this is kind of one when I was young because I was a teenager. Sin City when it came out.
Right. Yep.
The Frank Miller Sin City.
Hmm.
I loved the film a lot. Teenager, edgy, violent, great. And then I bought the deluxe edition, which came with the comic book, and I hadn't read the comic book. And I remember sitting there watching the movie as I was flipping through the comic and being so amazed at how faithful the adaptation was.
Nice.
There's this particular scene where the character Marv gets thrown out of a window and lands in a bag of trash bags. And I remember sitting there and I paused it and it blew my little 15-year-old mind or however old I was because every crinkle of every trash bag and the way the light reflected off it was the same as the comic book.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah.
And I was like, what? And in later years, I found out that Frank Miller always said that like he didn't want that adapted. It couldn't be adapted properly.
Right.
And then the filmmaker Robert Rodriguez, he filmed the opening scene of that film as a short film as a proof of concept on his own budget.
Oh, wow.
He didn't have any approval from anyone. He just filmed it.
Okay.
Josh Hartnett, I think, was in that opening scene. And he took that entire opening scene. And he brought in Frank Miller, the writer of the comic, to watch him film the entire scene and edit it together in 24 hours.
Wow.
And said, this is how I can adapt your novel to screen. And Frank Miller went from complete no way to let's do this and let's be co-writers on the film.
Yeah, right. Because because even I know like that movie stylistically is like its own thing, right? And I think I've seen it a while ago. So that's amazing though, and like I'm just thinking like you're like as a kid especially seeing like the thing that was magic to you on the page come to life like that, that experience alone like kind of makes you go, well, adaptations as a rule like can't be a bad thing because that would be just absolute magic.
Yeah.
Cool.
100%. And then on the flip side of that, thinking about sort of badder adaptations, I was a big fan of the book Ready Player One.
Right.
And when the movie was first announced, I was like, there is no way that they could do this because of rights. If anyone's read Ready Player One or seen the movie, it's all just IPs from other brands. They've got the Iron Giant in the movie and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and all these different characters brought into one film, which they figured out whatever rights deal they had for that movie, the lawyers must have had a field day. Beautiful. The film is okay. Like I like it as its own film, but as an adaptation, I didn't like it because the book is based in 80s pop culture and D&D.
Right.
And then the film was late 90s, early 2000s pop culture, none of the D&D references. And while they narratively had the same kind of arc, it just tonally felt extremely different. And so as an adaptation, it didn't feel right.
Yeah, I can completely see that. I guess that's a choice made for, as you said, like specific reasons for copyright and stuff. But yeah, that would change the tone completely just because like, I mean, like when we think about like, especially like the 80s and the 90s, like there's a specific, it's not even just like an aesthetic, but like an emotional connection to that changes everything about, because, you can watch a movie from the 80s and 90s and even like a bad film and still have such fondness for it just because of the nostalgia element and just because of that was a time that we'll never have again. So that makes a lot of sense.
There's a movie that I absolutely love from the year I was born called The Chipmunk Adventure. It's one of the original cartoon Chipmunks movies. Nice. And I've watched that a bunch of times, but it is extremely racist and sexist and terrible. But just the nostalgia value keeps bringing me back to it.
It was a different time.
There's a scene where a child chipmunk is being sold off to a Saudi Arabian prince as a wife, and to escape, she sexually seduces some snakes.
Yeah, heard it here first. That's unreal.
A child's film from the 80s.
Yeah. Isn't it funny? Like, there's a few of those, like, that's probably the most extreme example I've heard, but, like, there are some things where you just look at that and go, how was that even, like, that exists?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Wow. Now I'm actually just curious, just to find out more about it.
The movie's filled with bops, though. The music is fantastic.
Nice, nice, nice. It was a different time indeed.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. Okay. I kind of feel the same about adaptations. To be honest, I think there's one that I think was done really well. Have you watched Cloud Atlas or read Cloud Atlas?
I haven't read it. I did watch it when it came out, and I remember being thrown because I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
And it's like 3 hours.
Yeah.
It's actually for the last 2 months or so, it's been near the top of my list of like when I'm ready to watch a 3 hour film, I'm going to rewatch this and try and give it another chance.
Nice. Yeah, it is certainly not everyone's cup of tea. It's long. So the book is Cloud Atlas, the same name by an author called David Mitchell. I read the book long time ago. Absolutely adored the book. The book does it's a very experimental literary book as well. It takes different genres and plays with them, and it's separate stories connected by a certain thread. And I won't give anything away. But the film basically it was very close to the material, the book material, and I didn't expect it to be at all because of just how experimental that book was. It probably, that would have been hard to adapt. I don't know how they did it really.
Yeah.
But a lot of I don't know if this has ever happened to you where, and maybe the example you gave with Sin City, but where you have like a vision of something in your mind from something you imagine from something you've read. And then when you see it on the screen in an adaptation, you get that feeling of like it's almost like deja vu in a way because you've experienced this before and it's so close to what you imagined, even if there are some details that are slightly different. But like it's sometimes uncanny. I feel it's a bit weird when I feel like they've taken what was in my brain and put it on the screen. And when that happens, it's like that it's got me. It's got its hooks in me then. And I had that feeling with Cloud Atlas. And it just, it did that really well. But yeah, it is certainly, it is a commitment, and it is both the book and the film. And it is, it's not going to be to everyone's cup of tea, but I think it's very clever the way it told its story. So I've actually got one I recommend to you. That's great.
Yeah,
I hope
nice.
there's a few more I can find.
I might even watch it today. I'll talk to you about it at work.
Nice.
Speaking of adaptation, I feel like this one has to be mentioned, and I just remembered it. Just popped into my mind. Speaking of very long things that you need to commit to, Lord of the Rings.
Oh boy, oh boy.
A controversial opinion. I hate the books.
I'm not the biggest fan either, so you're in good company. Yeah.
I remember that was one of the things whenever we did introductions in my English courses, and I'd be like, "Hi, I'm Jack," and I don't like Lord of the Rings. Just to get the conversation started. Yeah.
Get out.
The books are overly written, but also they're from a time when TV was rare, right? So people needed their imagination jogging.
Yes.
And, like, I understand at the time, but I can't get through those books. The movies, I think, are fantastic adaptations because they introduce this beautiful fantasy world, the concepts, everything like that. And they, it is a genre defined. Like Lord of the Rings is very much a genre defining thing for most modern fantasy.
Sure.
And having that accessibility for people that can't get through those older books is fantastic.
Yeah.
Same thing I think is happening with Dune. Dune's tried to be adapted a few times, but the modern adaptations of Dune seem to be doing very well, from what I understand. Again, I can't get through the books because they're just too much 50s, 60s style for me.
Yeah.
But Dune is such an influence on modern sci-fi.
Yeah.
That having an accessible way to experience those is where adaptation shines the most.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And yeah, you're right. Like Dune right now is having its moment. I still have not seen the films. I've left them, and I intentionally left them so I could watch them and actually spend some time with them. And I don't know what happened. I just got onto other things, and they've just been sitting there. But I do have them, and I will watch them. That's actually I have read the first Dune book, and it's its own thing. It's very dated. I enjoyed it enough, but more in an intellectual way rather than entertainment wise. But yeah.
I can't remember if it's 70s or 80s, but the old adaptation films, it's funny because I used to use that film specifically when I had trouble sleeping. I'd put on that film because I could never make it through. I could never. I tried to watch that film probably 20 times, and I'd always fall asleep within the first 45 or so minutes.
That's kind of like me in the Lord of the Rings films, to be fair. Yeah, I need to give them another crack, actually, the Lord of the Rings movies, because so many people love them and can connect over them, and like I don't have this love for fantasy that I think a lot of my friends do.
Yeah.
And I try very hard to enjoy it, and I just don't. It's more the sci-fi, the more grounded stories that kind of speak to me more. But I think I do need to try them again. It's been a long time. When were they even made? What year was the first Lord of the Rings? Let me have a look.
98,
Was it really?
something like that.
That's crazy.
Another one of my fun tidbits, because I spent too much time thinking about films. The
2001.
original
Crazy.
2001.
That's a long time ago.
So the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies from the 90s, these were films that tried to get made for many, many years and couldn't because no one wanted to take the risk on them.
Mm-hmm.
A small studio took the risk on them, and they were a huge financial success.
Yep.
That money is what funded Lord of the Rings.
Oh, what?
Yeah,
Really?
that studio, I want to say Mirage, but that may not be right. But that studio was like a nothing studio, indie studio. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles took off so much that they suddenly had money, and that's when they greenlit Lord of the Rings.
That's crazy. Had no idea of that. That's an awesome tidbit.
Yeah.
That movie, the Turtles movie, that was my whole childhood. That was like,
Right?
it was amazing. It's still amazing. It's still
I
good.
always think of the scene where they do like the I can't remember if it's the smoke bomb or the lights off, and he grabs all the bells.
Yeah, yeah. I know those iconic scenes that are just like, yeah, they're just in your head permanently, rent free.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, that's kind of having its moment as well. There's a lot of turtle stuff that's come back a little bit. Though they changed the design, I think. Like the animated one looks different now.
Yeah, they've changed the design so many times because the original '80s comic is like very dark, gritty,
Yeah.
just black, white, and red, lots of blood.
Yeah.
And it was written as a Daredevil fanfic spin-off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It had its own vibe. It wasn't really a kids thing. It was, and then
Yeah.
it's kind of,
And now I think I saw a thing a couple of weeks ago where it's a $30 billion IP now.
crazy. Cannot comprehend that amount of money. It's nuts.
I wanted to
Cool.
ask because you're more into sci-fi side of things than fantasy. You mentioned. Do you have a favorite adaptation film that's like an adaptation of sci-fi? You mentioned Cloud Atlas.
For sci-fi.
Yeah.
Do I? I don't know. I don't know if I do have like a go-to one. Um, yeah, most of them like were films first, I think. Like I'm pretty sure I don't even know if like the Terminator films were, Alien, Terminator,
No.
they were all films.
Yeah.
Um
That was the director taking drugs and having a dream of a robot.
which is where a lot of the great stuff comes about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he sketched out the Terminator skeleton on a napkin after waking up from a vivid drug-fueled
I
dream.
heard this. Is that actually
Yeah.
true?
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
He said it himself in interviews.
Wow. That's nuts. Yeah, cool. I mean, that's where the good stuff happens, right? From dreams and and
Yeah.
other means.
Induced psychosis.
Yeah, there's a reason a lot of stuff in the 60s kind of happened. Yeah. Oh, look, I'm gonna think on that question now because I'm sure there are, but
Yeah.
I haven't prepared one, so not sure.
Yeah,
But
fair
I will
enough.
certainly. There's a lot of good sci-fi specifically that's older and anything newer. Not as I guess ones that aren't ones that I've seen so much, so or read for that matter. So there's a lot of older stuff, but I think they were all films first, from what I remember. Yeah.
Personally, when I think of sci-fi, I think of spaceships and space, right? Like, there's obviously many other things in sci-fi that you can do,
Yeah.
but I think inherently when it comes to film, it's such a desolate space that you really have to go in for that desolation vibe in sci-fi films.
Yeah, which right now, to be honest, I'm finding it kind of hard to be immersed in that stuff just because of the state of the world right now. So a lot of the stuff that I would ordinarily like, and like I'm supposed to be reading Stephen King's The Stand, and I just can't force myself to pick up that book right now because I just don't want to be in a world that's not, it's very similar to our current state of affairs. So maybe
Handmaid's Tale.
yeah, like right. My mum is watching that right now. Like I only just found out there's 6 seasons, 7, like so many seasons of it. And I had no idea, and I haven't watched any of it yet because it's just been I just can't.
I originally refused to watch it because I was so traumatized studying the book at uni.
Fair, it's a valid reason.
The fact that it's gone so long has me curious now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, same. Like that when she told me that, I was just like, wait, what? Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So okay, couple last questions then before we sort of get into the rapid fire,
Lightning round.
the
Yep.
lightning round. What about some lesser known? This is actually the question I've been wanting to ask the most for you, and you've mentioned some of these throughout our conversation, but I'm curious if you have any more. What are some lesser known or underrated films that you'd encourage people, me especially,
Yep.
to watch?
Well, Harvey, as I mentioned, that was the one that I was like, I need to get this one down. One of my favorite films I mentioned briefly in the favorite film section, Seven Psychopaths.
Okay.
Um,
Yep.
it's both a action film and a meditative thing about a writer trying to write an action film that isn't about violence.
Wow.
Which and Colin Farrell's absolute best performance ever. It's fantastic.
Interesting.
So Seven Psychopaths definitely up
Oh,
there.
Woody Harrelson's in that one too.
Yeah,
Cool.
Woody Harrelson and
Christopher Walken.
Christopher Walken. Yep. There's a film called Phoebe in Wonderland, and this is a hard one to recommend, especially as you're in Australia, because it never got an Australian release. At least when I was trying to find it on DVD, I could only find a UK release.
Hmm.
Phoebe in Wonderland is a wonderful exploration of a little girl that is going through some kind of mental health crises. It could be a few different things, but also has an obsession with Alice in Wonderland, and it sort of shows it from her perspective of things being sort of twisted into Alice in Wonderland.
Oh wow.
So wonderful, wonderful. Elle Fanning. It was the first movie that I ever saw Elle Fanning in, and she is a fantastic actress.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I'm
Um,
just looking it up now. So it's older, so she's younger, obviously. But
yeah,
yeah, it's I think I've heard of this, but yeah, as you said, I've
yeah.
not seen it.
It's definitely one of those ones where I'm like, I recommend people to watch it, and then they can't even find it to watch.
Yeah, don't you hate that?
Yeah. This one may or may not be known depending on who's listening or watching, but The Boondock Saints.
Okay, heard of, yeah.
Yeah, so great indie action film. It's got Norman Reedus in it before Walking Dead. Um, and it's basically these two guys that sort of accidentally get into mobster killing business. But it's got some fantastic Irish accents. It's got a very iconic but questionable performance by what's his name? Green Goblin from Spider-Man. um,
I cannot help you there, sorry.
uh, what's his
Let
name?
me have a look. You've
A
got
fantastic actor.
no.
Um, William Dafoe. Willem Dafoe. That's it.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. So Willem Dafoe plays a gay police officer that says homophobic things
Okay.
and has a very questionable cross-dressing scene.
Okay, right.
But
It's a complex character for you.
he also plays the character with such over-the-top conviction that it's a beautiful thing to watch.
Nice.
There's actually a sound that gets used on TikTok a lot that's a quote from him talking about the film where he goes, he's gay, he likes classical music. There's many fascinating things about him.
I think I've heard that.
Yeah,
Is that where it's from?
that's from Willem Dafoe talking about this role.
Nice. Nice.
So yeah, Boondock Saints, fantastic, fantastic movie. And the last one I wanted to recommend is a more modern one called Civil War. I saw this recently. Only came out last year, I think. And probably a bit pointedly, it's about a modern day civil war in America. But it's about a journalist traveling through war-torn America to do an interview with the president before he falls.
Wow.
And it's beautifully shot, has some amazingly tender moments in it. And it really caught me off guard because I thought it was just going to be sort of like an actiony, like bit of a fun romp, but no, it really like hit me in the feels. So,
Love
and I
that.
feel like it didn't get any media attention. So,
Yeah, I've
Civil
not
War,
heard of this. Yeah, from
yeah,
last year. Yeah, cool.
yeah,
And yeah, isn't it funny? Like sometimes, especially I'm just looking at like the cover art as well of it, and when you get like the sense of a film, and it's just not that at all, and it,
yeah,
it doesn't get the accolades that it deserves because it's like nobody knows what it's actually
yeah.
about. That always it's slightly annoying. Cool. Yeah, awesome. I will add all of those. Thank you. Thank you
No
for
problem.
sharing those. Cool. All right. Well, let's actually go to. Actually, I do have one. You've answered a little bit of. I had some bonus questions for Jack here that we've put just in case time allows, but I figured we wouldn't have time because
Yeah.
this is just fun nerding out. You've actually answered most of these already anyway. But I was actually just curious if there's like a story in another medium that you wish was a movie that like a favorite of yours. So something that hasn't been adapted that you wish was an adaptation.
I was really hoping we were going to get to this, and I'm glad that's the one you picked
Nice.
because it's because of you, Ryan.
Oh.
The Becky Chambers books.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yes. And not the Wayfarer series. You're talking about the Monk and Robot
Monk and
books.
Robot books.
Yeah.
I think they, especially the first one, would make a fantastic, very slow paced,
Yes.
more. I'm thinking more like Eastern cinema. Like it would still probably be shot in Hollywood style thing, but that thing where
Asian
it's just the
inspired.
small moments,
Yeah.
and not so much about huge conflict, just these small moments of contemplation.
Yeah.
You could have very subtle but beautiful sci-fi, solar punk scenes.
I just got goosebumps when you said that just now. Like, I think that is like the perfect answer, and I didn't even think of that.
Yeah,
I would love that. That would be amazing.
right.
That because there's so many things because it's already quite cinematic. Like she writes quite descriptive. You can sort of visualize the world and everything.
Yeah,
That would be the perfect movie. And if they did that, and I hope they do one day. Hopefully it would be that slow paced, that Japanese vibe where it's very much the mundane and not so
yeah,
much the fast paced. This happens, then that happens.
yeah.
Yeah, that would be great.
These are all the small moments, and this is how they're connected. Like
Yes.
a scene where they're just sitting down having a conversation over tea that goes for like 10 minutes. Let's
Yes, please.
go.
I'm so down for that. That's the
Yeah.
perfect answer. Okay, that
And
is really
the
perfect.
end of the first book, that as the end of a film would like floor me. It'd kill
Yes.
me.
Oh boy. If anyone hasn't read these books, by the way, because I don't know if we've talked about the Wayfarer series very briefly. I don't know if we talked about the Monk and Robot books, which I personally prefer. I think they have
Yeah,
kind of had their time because they were, the booktube community was big into them for a while. I
yeah,
do think they're the better books. They're the ones I recommended Jack read, and Jack has now read them and loves them. I've gifted them to my mum. I've gifted them to someone else, another friend. No one I have heard from doesn't like these books. Like there's something in them for everyone.
yeah,
And there's two books. It's a
yeah.
duology, and I don't know if there's
A
more.
psalm for the wild built and
And something else. Crown, something for the Crown Shire. Let me look it up just so we've got it.
who can Google faster?
Yeah, not me.
A psalm for a wild built and a prayer for the
A
crown
Prayer for the
shy.
Crown Shire. Thank you. Yes. Yeah, they're fantastic books. The first I think is the better of the
Yeah,
two, but they're
by
still
far.
both really good.
But yeah, no, that definitely that needs to be a I keep wanting to say adapted. Needs to be adapted.
We know what you
um,
mean. That's all right.
the only other answer I had for this, I chose not to specifically to this question, is a comic that I love called 8 Billion Genies.
Never heard of
And
it.
the reason I did mention it is because it is getting adapted. It's
Oh,
coming out as
wow.
an animated series from Amazon Prime. They're still workshopping it.
Cool.
But it's a fantastic comic book. It's only 8 issues. And it is every person on Earth gets a personal genie that will grant one wish and then disappear, and the chaos that ensues. And
I can imagine.
it's done in a really interesting way that the first issue is the first 8 seconds of the world. The second issue is the first 8 minutes of the world. The third issue is the first 8 hours of the world, then 8 days, 8 weeks, 8 months, 8 years. And it's sort of
Wow.
like as this world progresses and like some people become super powerful, some people waste their wish, some people hoard their wishes. And it's just a really, really cool comic book. Highly recommend the comic book.
Yeah, that sounds
But
amazing. I'd
yeah,
so be the character who's just like, I am paralyzed by fear of saying the wrong thing for my wish. I hope there's a character that's like that. That would be me.
yeah, there is.
Yeah, of course there is. That sounds
Yeah,
amazing. You know what? Like, I reckon out of all of the different mediums for telling stories, comic books have to be one that does the most experimental, thoughtful storytelling.
yeah,
That must make it really difficult to adapt to other mediums because
yeah.
it's hard to tell stories in a different way when it's just so experimental like that. But there's just such good storytelling.
Yeah, and it's because they have infinite budget of the imagination, right? Like
Yeah,
their only
yeah,
limitation is the amount of panels they can do,
yep.
and whatever you can imagine, let's draw it.
Let's draw it exactly. Yeah, And they're already somewhat niche anyway, so I don't have to worry too much about that. Yeah,
The
that's pretty cool.
marketability.
Yeah, cool. Well, that's going up the list. I'm so interested in that. Okay, well, thank you for answering those questions.
No problem.
Would you like to do a very brief rapid fire lightning round?
Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. Okay, so for this, like, don't think too hard on it. It's literally just here's a bunch of questions. Some of these you've already answered anyway, but I'm just curious, like, what your gut reaction to a lot of these is.
Yeah.
So, all right, so we've got like 12 questions. So, question number 1: favorite movie genre.
Action.
Number 2: a
Generic.
movie that impacted you emotionally.
The Green Mile.
Ooh, I agree.
Yeah.
Number 3: the last movie you watched.
It's the one that I went in. Oh, the one that I can't remember that I went and saw at the cinema.
Yeah, the one we still don't have the name for. We'll find out.
Thunderbolts.
Thunderbolts. Okay, that's going in the show notes. I'll check that out. Thunderbolts. Favorite movie as a kid.
Chipmunk Adventure.
A movie you think is overrated.
I can't think of one. The Room.
Fair. I've seen that one. That was okay. A movie you're looking forward to.
Don't think on it too deeply. I can't think of many movies that
You've
are
already
coming out
used all your brain power.
now. Yeah, I've already seen them all.
Yeah, all that.
I think it's a movie that will be coming out but hasn't been announced yet, which is Rounders 2.
Why does that ring a
Hasn't
bell?
even been announced yet, but
Okay.
watch it. It'll be announced in the next year or two.
All right, you heard it here first, folks. Cool. A movie you could watch over and over again.
Pitch Perfect.
Nice. Your favorite movie ending.
Favorite movie ending. Alright, my gut reaction was not correct, but I'll say it anyway. Bridge to Terabithia.
I've not seen that. Yeah, okay. Oof.
Don't.
Okay.
I watch it when I hate myself.
So it's an impactful ending, just not a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have an answer to that one myself, but I have it for a TV show, and I'm just going to mention it. Have you ever seen 6 Feet Under, that series?
Yes, but I can't remember it. I've
That
seen it, but I can't remember.
the ending for that is like the best TV show ending in history, in my opinion. It's very good. Nope, I've asked you that one. Subtitled or dubbed for foreign language films?
Ooh. There's a lot of anime films. Paprika or Paprika, depending on how you like to pronounce it. Perfect Blue by the same director. Old Boy, the Korean action film, hugely influential on all action films that have come preceding it. Yeah.
Yeah, some
yeah.
good ones. Do you watch them like if they are in a different language? Do you watch them dubbed or with subtitles?
It depends on the film. Some films I like to watch dubbed because they're more easygoing. It's just sort of like fun, splashy color and action. Some of them where it's like this is about character development in the story. I want that more authentic.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Totally fair. I think I'm the same. Okay, the cinema versus a decked out home theater.
I prefer the decked out home theater because I hate wearing shoes.
Fair point. That's a valid reason for sure.
Yeah.
I'm the same. Home comfort, yes please.
Yeah.
Fantasy versus sci-fi.
When it comes to film, sci-fi.
Ooh.
When it comes to novels, fantasy.
Haha, suck it, Chris. I've got to take the wins where they come.
Yeah.
Nice. And this one I'm just threw it in there because I'm just absolutely curious. Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Trek.
Oh wow, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hard on
yes.
the Star Trek.
Nice.
Star Trek Voyager specifically is my Star Trek.
Yes.
Captain Janeway.
Absolutely.
But yeah, what's most overrated? Star Wars.
Yes.
Look,
that's the
I
correct
like
answer.
Star Wars. I don't love Star Wars.
Yeah,
and I'm
fair.
just like, people are rabid for it. I'm like, cool, you enjoy what you enjoy.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah, fair. Look, I probably they're about equal for me, but I absolutely agree with you. Star Wars is overrated, especially certain films, and also just the franchise as a whole. Like it's whatever. But I'm glad you said Star Trek. That warms my heart.
I mean, speaking, isn't Star Wars just a Dune ripoff?
A lot of sci-fi is, right? Like, that's just
Yeah,
how it works, really, is the genre as
yeah.
a whole.
It was literally, what isn't it? George Lucas was reading Dune and
Mhm.
saw footage of fighter planes, and he was
Yeah, he's
like,
like,
"Oh,
huh,
let's,
let's put those together.
yeah,
100%. Yeah, yeah. Borrowed ideas. I mean, is anything
yeah,
original? Everything's a remix, right?
yeah."
Nice. Nice. Awesome. That was great, actually. Some good answers there. Thank you for participating in that lightning round. That was a
No problem.
bit of fun.
Yeah,
Awesome. Well, look, thank you so much for speaking with me today about movies. Like, don't get to do it too often, and it's nice to have that on the podcast as well.
yeah.
I hope you had as
Thanks for
much
having me.
fun as I did. Yeah,
Very much so. Yeah,
good.
and
Love.
I am excited for some things we can discuss in the future if I do make it back.
Yes, you did mention. I don't know if you want to mention it. You mentioned it to me
Yeah,
when we were talking off the podcast, and you the minute you said it, I laughed. I laughed out loud, and
yeah,
I was just like, "That's perfect." So
yeah.
if you want to, you can announce it here, and we can come back
Yeah.
and do it.
Well, the idea of that was the value in bad movies, which I think there is by far value in terrible cinema. But as your podcast, there's also value in bad books, like the lit RPG books that we've been mentioning.
Yeah,
So
yeah, and that's a whole discussion we've had sort of bits and pieces of, and I think one day we'll
yeah,
probably end up doing that and have a
yeah,
whole discussion about it. But look, I for what it's worth, I'm way more inclined to put time into watching a bad movie than I am into watching a
yeah,
bad book, just because of the amount of time you have to spend.
yeah.
But yeah, we'd love to have you back and to talk about that, and I can add
Beautiful.
more B
Done
grade
deal.
movies to my list.
Wow.
Yeah, great. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us and tuning in. And obviously, all the notes to the links to the movies that we've talked about, we'll put them all in the show notes. It's probably going to be quite a lot, so we'll do as much as we can for those. But I'm going to have to anyway, just for my own list. So
Get your list together.
that's it. That's it.
I'm gonna go have lunch and watch Cloud Atlas. I think.
Nice. Well, I'm very excited for that conversation. Maybe we can do that on the podcast too. That'd be fun. I haven't watched
Yeah.
it in a long time. I'd have to rewatch, and I don't think I have a spare 3 hours at the moment. So,
Yeah.
so we'll see. But you can
Beautiful.
find all the show. That you can find links to the show and find the show at Genre Blender Podcast on YouTube and in your podcast player of choice. You can follow us at Genre Blender Podcast on Blue Sky and Instagram, and all the direct links to all our socials will be there. Kris is at A Fictional Escapist everywhere on YouTube and Instagram. I'm at ryanfloyd.com. Where can everyone find you online as well, Jack?
Yeah, pretty much all online platforms that I'm on is Giant Jack Mac. You can't tell I'm actually very tall. Giant Jack Mac.
Nice.
Specifically, I want to mention Letterboxd. Anyone that's on Letterboxd, please follow me. I'll follow you back because I need more movie buddies.
Nice. I might have to do this just to get my movie recommendations and have them somewhere I'm going to look at.
Yeah,
So maybe we'll do that.
do it.
Awesome. Do it. Awesome. Well, thank you again. Thanks so much for joining me. Had an absolute blast. Thanks for listening and tuning in. And to all the world hoppers out there, we wish you safe travels. And until next time, take care, everyone.
Cheers. Bye, Ryan.
See ya.